student at the University of Toronto Mississauga. I am specializing in DEM and I'm minoring in political science. I was raised in the UAE. It is in the Gulf area of Middle East. I moved to Turkey for a few years and then I moved to Canada for a few years too. The first time coming to Turkey was a big shock to me because it was the first time I realized that there is more to the Palestinian identity than just saying I'm Palestinian. Being raised in a country where I wasn't taught what occupation was or what genocide is, I never really thought about it. It was just like, oh, I'm Palestinian. It wasn't like I would just barely mention it to people, and even when I do mention it, I didn't know what that really meant. So yeah, when I did move to Turkey, it was just like, wow, wait, I'm Palestinian. There is way more to it than I thought. And then I moved to Canada, and I was more aware since I was in college. It brought me to a level of consciousness that I never reached before in my life. So my grandparents were the last generation to be born in Palestine. It was a tough situation for the parents because there was a day where they were told the neighboring town was being slaughtered. So the surviving people of that town started running to the town next to them. They were terrified. They were running everywhere. My great-grandparents took their son, my grandfather, and his little sister. They took their keys with them. They took their stuff with them. They were told that they're gonna come back in a week at most, and they never came back. And that's why I think keys are a very important symbol to Palestinians, because they literally took their keys with them and they were like, oh, we'll use that key again. But no, they just kept it with them as a piece of treasure and a piece of hope. And their generations that are coming, they are seeing the physical key. They see it. They're like, this is the key to your house that we were never able to see because they didn't have a right to see. And because of how important the key is to Palestinian identity, I actually just realized that it's in one of my pins. These pins I designed to carry the Palestinian identity, because if we don't represent the Palestinian identity, then there wouldn't be any. There are times where I feel really powerful and I feel so inspired to create art for Palestine, to raise money for Gaza, to embrace this identity. But as all of us, at some point we do open our phones and we do see what's going on, and it's not something that we can just live and continue on and pretend that it's not happening. I don't know, it's not something that we can just move on from. It'll always be within my consciousness, and I think even when I do go to school, even when I do continue my normal day-to-day life, there are times where it's just like, why am I even doing this? Why am I here when I could be doing more, when I could be helping them, when I just feel this feeling of I just want to scream, and I just want to scream at the people letting this happen. How could they let something like this happen right in front of the entire world and manipulate it into something that's not a genocide? Growing up, I think I use art as my outlet, as my emotional outlets, and it's pretty therapeutic. And I only recently thought of creating it for a really, really valid and really great cause. Sometimes I don't believe that I can create art, but that's why I really like one of the most recent pieces that I created. It's the symbols of resistance, and it showcases the symbols of identity, of culture, of who Palestinians are. It doesn't necessarily reflect on my skills as specific, but reflects on Palestinian identity. In college, I had like 0 Palestinians, 0 Muslims in my program. So I never had activity. I would though see that there were protests going on, because that was the first time I go to a protest. The feeling, I was like, I couldn't even chant once the first time I went to the protest, because I was shocked. Like, I was like, this amount of people are coming together and gathering to just chant for Palestine, and being raised in the UAE, and I never ever had a voice, and I never was given the voice to talk about this. I'm so thankful that, like, despite the silencing that the government does, we still have the choice of speaking out. We still have a choice of building this community, and we continue to do so.
It brought you closer to other Palestinian women on campus?
Yeah, 100% brought me closer to Palestinian women on campus. We have a coalition called Coalition for Justice in Palestine, and it started in October, and it was more of a collective effort that representatives from different associations and clubs would join to create actions together. But at some point after winter break and after things started to slow down, even though it's not slowing down in Gaza, but just here in Canada it's just been slowing down, a lot of people went on with their own stuff, which is understandable. People are busy, people have their own lives, but the only people that stayed were Palestinian Muslim women. And I don't know if, like, I'm not shocked. What I noticed is on campus, this movement is literally led by Palestinian women. So the resilience that I see, the determination, this strong sisterhood is clearly seen on campus. But yeah, I think women in general I've seen in this cause, not just Palestinian, but women in general that sympathize so much, have this like resilience of coming together. I don't know, it is overwhelming, because it's like I'm too many things, and the thing is sometimes I can't be like all of these things at the same time. Sometimes I see the challenge of being Palestinian, a woman, a Muslim, and a student in Canada at U of T. Like, sometimes they don't go together. That's sometimes how I feel like. But knowing that I've lived in countries where I didn't have much of a voice like I have here, motivates me to, allow my identities to grow and allow my identities to be embraced. Even though there might be challenges, but I need to give them their own value, and giving them their value means that I get to acknowledge each of my identities and uniting them as one. Like, I don't need to separate being a student and being Muslim and being pro-Palestinian, and it can be one identity. I don't need to let people or like the other side decide who I am. I think understanding what's going on, and I think it's not that easy understanding what's going on if you've been growing up watching mainstream media and outlets. It's something that basically you're gonna have to decolonize yourself. And like the simplest form of raising awareness could just be talking to your friend about it, or reposting on your Instagram, on your social media, talking to your family members about it, or wearing pins.